So, for students who may not know you, you are,
Ms.Devito.
and give me a little background about yourself. Like, how long have you been working? What do you teach? General stuff.
So I've been in Woodbridge Township District for 12 years. I started out in Elizabeth, and then I came here and I worked as a middle school special ed teacher, and now I am the autistic class teacher, and I've been here for the last 8 years.
All right, so what would you say your motivation is to teach these kids and get into special education?
Well, I think my motivation was definitely my brother. He's autistic. So I grew up always in his classroom and always doing activities with him outside of school. And I've always seen that his teachers made a lot of progress with him because he's able to speak and he tries different foods and all the things that we kind of just naturally do. I was able to see them get him to a level where it's not 100% natural, but he still is doing more than he ever would if he wasn't in school. So that's probably my biggest motivation, is to give these guys the same level of education and have them be more independent.
All right, so special education is kind of like a touchy subject. So, like, what are your thoughts and opinions on where it is now and how it's going?
Oh, well, I think now, especially from looking at it over the last 15 years, I think it is in a way better place than it ever was, especially with the use of technology. So we have students, at least, in the population that I teach, that aren't able to speak and they're not able to communicate their needs. And even just the evolution of technology is giving them all more of a chance to fit in and be more independent and acclimate a little bit better to their peers. So I think we're in a way better place than we were even from 5 years ago. I think everybody's coming out a little bit more prepared, everything in college is more up to date now and technology based, and I think that's really helpful.
What aspects would you say it's improved on from, I guess, before?
I would definitely say really focusing on the individual child, as opposed to focusing on a whole group of special education students where there was maybe one or two things that you could do to help. Now it is more you're looking at each child as an individual. So I think now teachers are coming out of college more prepared to look at the students independently. So each student has a different level of learning, and to that every teacher is giving them exactly what they need, not just like a blanket. We call it modification, right? So I think that the teachers are coming out more prepared. I think with technology, I think with the research that has been placed on students and their disabilities has really helped them really pinpoint what they really need to be more successful. I think everybody's more prepared that way.
Okay. What would you say your certain philosophy is on teaching?
My philosophy is, that's a tough one. I think my priority is to make sure that every one of my students feels comfortable, that they're in a happy place, they're in a safe place, and that they're always heard. And I think, I've even gotten in trouble a couple times with my supervisors in college because I would be teaching. And a student would raise his hand and say, what time is this TV show tonight? Or what time's the basketball game? And, back then, it was like 15 years ago, you were taught, no, that's off topic. You can't talk about that right now. So my philosophy always, because those things stuck in my head, is, is that bothering you? That you don't know what time the game's on tonight, or you don't know what time your TV show's on. Let's figure that out. Let's fix that first, and then we'll go back to, what you're working on. So I think my priority and my philosophy is always, always, always making sure my students feel like this is an open place, this is a comfortable place, and you can, speak your mind whenever. And I always put them first.
So with special education, special ed kids, you'd say it's better to be more open and, I guess, talk with them more rather than being more closed-minded in a sense?
Yeah, to be more like, this is my classroom, and no, we are not doing math. Right now, we're doing this right now, and no, it's not time for that. No, it's not time for this. I always feel like, and it's interesting too, when I went to school and even for my brother, students with autism respond better to schedules, right? First is this, then comes this. It's very regimented. I actually, in the 8 years that I've been doing this, I don't have a schedule. The students have their own independent schedules, their own activity schedules, academics, but they choose. Oh, Misty, I don't feel like doing math right now. Okay, you don't have to do math now. You could do math after you do your language arts, right? So I feel like when you're more open-minded and you kind of have that type of environment, they're more likely to be like, okay, I have a little bit of control here, I can make this work. And once you give them a little bit of control, then they're more likely to acclimate and do what they're supposed to do. That's how I run my room, which is very different, but that's what I think.
Do most kids learn the same way, or are there subtle differences between them that make each teaching experience, I guess, different?
No, I think that even I have 3 students, and when I teach a lesson up at the board, I see each of them processing it completely differently. I don't know if I've ever found a group of students that process information the same way, or listen to directions, or look at even a math problem the same way, I think.
So could you kind of let's say, take us through the mind of maybe one of your students to the best you can to help us better understand?
Sure. I have a student who, it's kind of a new experience this year to have a student that is so affected by outside factors, by things that you can't control, right? So a couple of examples of that are noise. Just being in the cafeteria, when you guys go to the cafeteria, it's pretty loud in there, right? So there are a lot of anxieties that start building up when they know that a certain event or a noisy situation is coming. So there's a lot of preparedness that has to go into that part of the day. Like, you're going to the cafeteria, it's going to be noisy, but you have the following tools to help you. So, during the day, we will do our work, and sometimes we'll notice that a sticker fell off the door. Then we become very upset, right? Because it's something that is just, that I don't pay attention to and that the other students aren't affected by, but he's greatly affected by the fact that a letter's missing, or someone took a heart from one section and moved it. So just those little minute things during the day lead him to be so mindful. So we're always on our toes, making sure, we're always trying to figure out what could be a trigger as to why this kid is upset, or what can we do to fix this, or what can we do to rectify this. And then if that's also another reason why I don't have a schedule, because of that type of personality. When they realize that something's out of place, it becomes an ordeal, and things can escalate. Things can get very physical. Things can get very loud. There could be multiple obscenities. There could be objects flying, just because of one of those things that you and I don't normally, pay attention to. So there's a lot of things that have to go into place. There's social stories that we have to work on during the day, where I do a lot of role playing, or I'll say, if somebody says this or does this, how are we reacting? We're not going to scream in someone's face, right? We're going to do this instead, or we have these tools to use instead. So we spend a lot of our day working on just our behavior, for one of our students. For all of our students, we work on it, but for one in particular, it's a bigger part of the day, is to work on a response to something that you can't control.
So you kind of help them try to cope with whatever their, I guess, sort of trigger is, or something?
Yeah, to help them cope with the anticipation of, okay, we're going to an all grades meeting, and there's going to be a lot of kids in there. We're going to a pep rally. There's a lot of kids in there. There's a lot of music. There's dancing, and there's all those things that probably, you and I enjoy watching. And it is just noise, right? So you kind of just get into your surroundings. But for these guys, there's noise, and there's people everywhere, and there's colors, and there's microphones. So we prepare all week for that. We do PowerPoints, we do role playing, we go, we'll walk down to the stadium, and I'll go step by step through what's going to happen. We'll watch videos, I'll take videos and just be like, remember, this is when it gets loud. So we're always just constantly trying to provide them with tools and settling their anxiety by just trying to show them what's going to happen. That's how we spend most of our day.
Okay. So, since you have a lot of experience, what have you found that works and doesn't work when teaching these kids?
What works and what doesn't work? What does not work is being stern, yelling, saying no, and not explaining your reasoning for doing anything. Getting loud, that does not work. Screaming, that does not work. What works is having a quiet voice, having close proximity, making sure that you are on the level with them, making sure that they know, okay, this lady's she's taking the time to understand that I'm going through something right now. Because it is very emotional. It's so emotional when you see a guy and he's crying because of a sound, or he lost the screw in his glasses, and you know yourself you can't rectify that, right? So you got to quickly think of, you know, how am I going to make sure the student know that everything's going to be okay? This is just a little piece of our day, right? So I think what works is having a softer voice, being on their level, close proximity, being very open, you know, open to making a deal, or actually I think the best way to put it is changing your expectations and being okay with it, I think, is probably the biggest success you could have as a special ed teacher. So you have a plan of what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And sometimes with me, I love things in rainbow order, and I'm very orderly, and I like to have things done a certain way. But for me to say, okay, it's just not going to go this way today, we're going to do this instead. So
you have to sort of be like malleable in a sense.
Yes, you have to quickly adapt. You have to quickly think, you have to quickly adapt, you have to know how to rectify a situation just to make sure that the student is feeling that they can be successful, or that they can move past something like an emotional block at the moment. That's what I think works the best, in my opinion, I think.
So, oh yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you about is, now that with the new school year, I saw on your teacher's page that you guys were introducing something called Rethink. So could you kind of like explain that to me, because I don't really know much about it?
Sure. Rethink is a program that originated in New York, and what it is a data tracking system. So it is all internet-based, and it's up to the teacher to create programs for their students. So the way that I use Rethink is, actually I should backtrack. Rethink provides you with lessons. They provide you with lessons. They provide you with something called sets, which means how to wash dishes, right? They give you a couple items that they say that they should wash, right? So you take that, and then as a teacher, you say, okay, I need to track the data. So did they bring the dishes to the sink? Did they put those things that we just go and we wash? I don't know, you might wash dishes or you might not. I do. But all those things about walking to the sink and just grabbing some soap and a sponge and putting it over to the side, or putting it in the dishwasher, or wherever it goes, I break those down into every single step. So there's actually 12 steps if you break down washing a dish. And that's not just washing a dish, it's dishes, forks, spoons, knives, cups, plates, you know. There's a whole totally different area of...
It's something you don't think about when it's automatic.
Exactly. Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. So what I do then is I use that system I go in there myself and I type in the exact skills that I want my students to work on. I set the criteria and I set the timeline. So Rethink provides you with a graph of how long it takes the students to master a skill. So if it took them 2 weeks to independently get up and turn the water on, then that's 2 weeks and that skill is closed out for the moment, and then you move on to the next one. So Rethink just provides you with transition focuses, academic-based lessons such as math and language arts, and then life skills, vacuuming, cooking, and all of that. So each one of my students has around 25 programs that I've written, and then I go in once a week with my paraprofessionals, and we kind of give a test. You know, they run through all 25 programs for the week, and then you put in all of the data, and it provides you with this graph and just a visual of how long your students are taking to master certain skills. So it can tell you, it's been 3 weeks and there's been no progress. You should, like, it'll give you like a little ding, like you should probably change it or come up with a different way of teaching it to show some sort of success. So that's how our district tracks the progress of students in these classes in autism.
So how would you say the website helps you help the students?
It helps me because we used to handwrite graphs, and we used to have binders that were like 200 pages long where we would handwrite everything, and if you wanted to look at a student's progress, you'd have to flip through every single graph. This program, once a week, I can pull up all 25 programs on one graph. So what that helps me realize is, based on all the different colors, right, I have them all set because, like I said, I like things a certain way. I can look at a student's life skills, job skills, vocational skills, language skills, social skills, and math skills, and I can say, oh boy, we Next week we got to do more on this level for
so
math.
you can gauge where someone needs to work on.
Yep. You can pull up everything just in one shot. So it just streamlines everything. It doesn't make the work easier because as a special ed teacher, I could have a curriculum, like a math curriculum, and I still have to go into it and color code it or change the questions or rephrase the directions, and even uploading things on Google too. Like I've been trying to save paper a lot, so we've been doing a lot on Google, but so there's still that end of it where you have to make everything. But after you make everything and everything's in place for the next week, you have that beautiful graph that shows you where you need to spend, your time needs to be spent the following week for each student.
So I can see that you have a lot of good resources and stuff. So like, how do you tie that around to the student so that he or she doesn't get overwhelmed?
Do you mean the amount, like that there's an amount of resources and amount of programs?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I do that is actually break it up through the course of 5 days. So we would just spend Mondays and Tuesdays, that's our vocational time. So everybody knows we teach on Monday our vocational skills and we'll test on Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday are our life skills days. So Wednesdays and Thursdays, we go to the apartment, we cook, we wash dishes, we do all the towels for the cooking rooms, we do uniforms and stuff like that too when it comes time to wash uniforms. So that's Wednesdays and Thursdays. And on Friday is just the ending of our academic week, and then I always tie it off with the following directions activity, so more like an art type of, just to wrap up the week on like a fun note. So the way that those programs are broken up is based on the day. That is probably the only consistent schedule I have. But that's just to help with the data and taking tests and all that, and it helps them too. It helps them realize, hey, today's Monday, I gotta make a photocopy, I have to do some sorting and everything like that. So I think that helps for them.
And do you see the progress in the students themselves?
I do. I see the progress because I think that we all have a good rapport in here, and the guys are opening up a little more. They're starting to have some more personality, and they're starting to giggle a little bit more and make jokes. And, socially, I'm starting to see them bloom a little bit. I'm starting to see them become less frustrated. I'm starting to see them cope a little bit more with their surroundings. And academically, they're great. I mean, that I can see every week. I see definite progress in all their academics. It's the social skills that they're slow going, but they'll be here with me for 4 years, so that's a lot of time to.
I mean, it's good. High school's all about development, socially and academically.
Yeah, so that's probably our biggest focus. Yeah.
Would you say, is there more we can do as a school district, or anything in any other aspects that we can improve to make it the ideal situation?
You know what? I would love. Every year, I always try to figure out how to get my guys, or even like all of us, like more involved with the general population. We do the uniforms and we do the towels and everything like that. And years ago, we used to have a program. I don't think it's Future Teachers now. Where like girls and guys who want to become teachers.
TAPS.
Yeah, they used to actually come in once a week and work with our kids. Like, I think it's more that I would love for them to partner up more with
more outside experience.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly confined to the people in the classroom.
They are. I mean, they go to clubs, video game club, drama club after school, which is great, that there's busing for them and it's a fair opportunity for everybody, but still, like, during the day, I would love to see them, do more with the kids in our school. But everyone I have to say, all the students in this school, high five them, say hi to them. And, sometimes with you guys, they'll go up in the hallway and they'll ask an inappropriate question, or they'll, just kind of put their hands in everybody's face because they want a high five. They don't necessarily say, So I could see somebody saying, who is this kid? But I've never had a kid in this building ever not be tolerant of these kids. So I love that. And I just would love to see more of like, I guess like a concrete interaction or something that would meet during the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they're very friendly and they need, as much as this is helping them, they still need outside experience and be able to, talk to people and hold one-on-one conversations.
Yeah, talking, just peer modeling, watching how to walk in the hallway appropriately, that kind of stuff, how to interact appropriately,
And some kids may learn different, some may be more observable, some may be more hands-on.
Yeah, that's true.
What would you say some difficulties you have currently?
Well, Some of the difficulties are the vocal outbursts, I would say, because those are not controllable. So, when you're in the hallway and a student is frustrated, and the way to cope with the frustration is through screaming or using obscenities that you really can't control. I mean, you could say, shh, we're in the hallway, calm down, it'll be okay. But sometimes that's not enough. So I would say that's probably my biggest struggle is how to cope with the vocalization of their frustration. I think is probably my biggest difficulty.
I mean, most people probably can't understand is that, I mean, they have a completely different way of thinking. And, I mean, you can't, at the end of the day, you can't control what someone's going to say or do. No.
And that's very true. And again, I have to say nobody, teachers and students are very tolerant. Nobody screams back at them. Some people or some students will even say, are you okay? Or, hey, it's all right, buddy. They'll try and help out a little bit. But as a teacher, that's a struggle to just try to change that behavior. I think it's probably the biggest difficulty so far this year.
How successful would you say, the success you've seen in past students you've had?
I think that a lot of our students have been successful because they, depending on their skill level that they have, if they have that criteria, they go over to our work program, which is called RISE, and they have contracts with Joann's, the hospital, different businesses throughout our district, and the kids actually go over there and they work. It's like the final stepping stone before job placement, and I've had a lot of students go over there and get that chance to be able to work at ShopRite and be out in the community and use their social skills and kind of all those little things that we've worked on, sorting and expiration dates and all that. So knowing that they've made it to that part of our district is pretty cool, that they're over there for work. So that's our ultimate goal, is to, just have them get out into the community and, like the rest of us. So I think they've been pretty successful.
All right, so the last thing I kind of want to get into
Sure.
is Teacher of the Year.
Oh.
So I know
No.
I couldn't find much information about it, but I know you've won Teacher of the Year.
Yes.
So
I tried to give it back, but they won't take it.
No, I'm sure it's, from what I've heard today, I could tell it's very well deserved.
Thank you.
So could you talk a little bit more about that, what it means to you and all your years of teaching?
It's very difficult because I think I had even told Mr.Lottmann, I said, I try to volunteer here and there for after-school activities or whenever any club needs help and stuff like that. So I don't feel like I do as much as far as, like, I don't know. I see so many teachers that do so many amazing things, so many outside-of-the-box things, so many hours that are put in with you guys, So, and here, I've been doing this for years, and I love my students very much, so to hear that, somebody recognizes that, it's humbling. It's like, it's difficult. I was crying actually when he told me. But it means a lot. It means a lot. It kind of means like all these years of tears and late nights of lesson planning and being so uncertain of yourself. I'm a very uncertain person. I'm not very confident, right? So for someone to say, we think you're doing a good job with the kids, or we like your lessons, it makes you feel like, okay, all of the stress and the worry and all those nights and all the effort that you put into this job, it's nice. It's very humbling to hear that.
I mean, it can be seen when just from seeing in the hallways, I can tell that the students think, they're very prolific for you, I guess. And it's...
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there anything else you would like to add before I conclude?
No, I appreciate talking to you and you taking the time to ask me all these very difficult questions. I hope I did okay, but I love Woodbridge High School. I love being here. I love my job. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I'm very happy here. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that's how I feel.
All I'm looking for is honesty.
That's pretty honest. I would say it's a pretty fair assessment. I can't lie, so. But.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.